Welcome back to the Unarmored Talk podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Mario P. Fields, and I have an amazing guest today coming out of South Korea. His name is Minjoon Kim. And let me tell you a little bit about Minjoon before I let him introduce himself to the listeners and viewers. Let me go to the veteran stuff first. He's a veteran of the Republic of Korea ROK Marines. He was Recon when he was on serving his time in the ROK Marine Corps, the ROK Marines. But in his private sector, check this out in the legal space. Minjoon started off as an intern. Then he went to paralegal, and now he is an attorney. He passed the bar. He passed the bar. And he's an attorney. He also speaks three different languages: French, English, and Korean. Je m'appelle Jean-Pierre Minjoon.
Yes, sir.
And we, monsieur. Welcome
We.
to the Unarmored Talk podcast from South Korea. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, man?
All right. My name is Minjoon Kim. I'm currently a attorney working online from Korea at a California law firm, and I also teach English at Mujok School in Busan, South Korea. I found Sergeant Major Fields' podcast and videos when I was at a really low point in my life, man. Like I was eating one ramen a day, sleeping on the cold floor, zero friends, right? And I was interning actually at my first workplace in Seoul. And I'll be honest with you, it was around Christmas. It was I still remember it was Christmas of 2021. It was Christmas of 2021. You guys all probably remember COVID, right? So you can't really go out. It's Christmas of 2021, and I was absolutely miserable, right? I was in this new city. I had zero friends. And on top of that, I'll be very honest, like my coworkers, they didn't really like me that much, right? So I didn't really have people to talk to at work, right? I go home, what do I have? I have Sergeant Major Fields, right? So I'm feeling terrible about myself, but I'm looking at my smartphone and I see you, and you're very confident about yourself, and all your videos really made me laugh, right? When you go up to all the Marines and you're like, he's 5'3", he's shorter than me, right? That really put like a smile on my face, so I could get through those hard times. So thank you, Sergeant Major Fields.
Man, everyone in Minjoon is being generous. He's being, I won't say generous. I'll say he's being humble about it. What it was is he was like, look, man, this guy's 5 foot nothing, and he's full of dynamite. If he could be that confident as a United States Marine at 5'3", I shrunk now. The VA said I'm at 5'2.5", Minjoon. But like Minjoon said, he can do anything. That is awesome. I have a permanent tan, so you can't see me blushing. So I'm gonna blush with my eyes. But that is cool, and I have the utmost respect for the ROK Marines. When I was in South Korea training in January, good gosh, the, the ability to train in that cold weather, man, with our allied partners in South Korea, it just gave me a newfound respect. Have you ever, well, you have, during some of your experience as a ROK Marine, can you share a couple of stories of being partnered with Marines and they're like, what the?
Well, one thing that I would say about the first thing that I would like to point out for our viewers out there is I'm sure you're aware of MREs, right? MREs, meals ready to eat. That's what we call them in America. In Korean, we still call them combat rations. That's literally what we call them, combat rations. So in Korea, we have 3 combat rations, but they kind of taste edible, right? You guys have 21 flavors and they all taste like garbage. So, like for us, like we only have 3 types, but the rice actually tastes like rice. Like the chocolate tastes like chocolate. Like the kimchi tastes like kimchi. But the American MREs, like you eat it and it's like, is this vegan? Is this vegetarian or seafood? They taste exactly the same, right?
Is this poison?
Yeah. So,
Hey, me June, you like no wonder why y'all so crazy. No, it's just why y'all so
oh, I
hardcore,
remember.
Marine.
Yeah, here's a good story for you. Yeah, I think I had a ROK Recon Marine, and again, like most Koreans, as you know, haven't been exposed to the U.S. culture as much as I have, right? So it was Thanksgiving. We were training in Pyeongchang, and then he
Yeah.
was eating like a Thanksgiving MRE, like a turkey MRE, and he was asking me, man, Americans eat this every year? That's some terrible traditions. And I was like, not all turkey tastes like this, man. If you eat it like in a normal household, it tastes pretty good. Not if it comes out of a can.
The few, the proud, the Marines. What
Yeah,
would you? Hey, me June. People are like,
yeah,
what makes Marines different from everybody? Well, let's start off with their nutrition.
yeah,
in the in the field. When we're not deployed, we eat pretty good. And shout out to our, I salute our Army soldiers. United States Army. They get the MREs too.
yeah,
Um, oh man. So I'll never forget when myself and now Lieutenant General Dave Odom, back then it was Colonel Odom, and I was a regimental sergeant major. He was a regimental commander for Fourth Marines, and we went
yeah,
to South Korea to train, and it was like December, January. And
yeah,
and I'm from Michigan, me June. So I grew up in a code, but that's a different code.
yeah, yeah. It really is.
To the point it starts to make humans shut down. It just starts to make it shut down. So what was some of your ways when you partnered with Marines that maybe were from the South? Now, there's some
Yeah,
Marines that are from like Florida or Georgia,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they
yeah.
get deployed to Okinawa, and then they get deployed to South Korea in the wintertime. What were some of the things when your partner you helped them get through the cold weather, man?
I'm sorry. I wish I could like make myself out to be some. The only thing that I taught them was how to cook ramen properly. That's like the only thing that I could really help them with. That and feel sorry for them, I guess. Like because me, I grew up like I didn't even grow up near the north where it's really cold, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in Busan, which is it's pretty warm, but it does get pretty windy. So I think the really it's the wind that kills a lot of foreigners that
Hmm.
or like non-Koreans that come here to teach or to train or whatnot. But yeah, one I felt really sorry. I think in our like sister platoon of like U.S. Marines, there was like a bunch of dudes from Georgia and Florida,
Hmm.
and that was about it. And those dudes, they just died on the hikes. And like me like the hikes that we went on, I was like, damn, I walked like taller mountains as a kid growing up. Yeah, so this is like a walk in the park for me. But they were dying, and I felt really bad for them. Yeah,
That's why it is so critical of the partnerships we have, because
yeah,
there's training in the states, like you said, there's areas in
uh-huh.
the north or south that we grew up in and we're used to the humidity, or
Hmm.
you got 100 pounds on your back and it's 100 degrees, and we're like, yeah, this is North Carolina. But to be able to go overseas and do training and build character with our partners, to build that resilience is critical, man. And my hats off to the Rock Marines, and being able to do that, because you never know when you deploy, you never know what environment you're going to be in.
Absolutely.
And the motivation, honestly, is this: if I see a Rock Marine going, this sucks, then good Lord, if I'm in South Korea, which that general did, before to show everyone, we had a 2-star general that coined myself and Colonel, now General Odom. And he looked at us like, you guys have no cold weather gear. You're hard as nails. He was like, it's cold. And when you go, it's cold. It's got to be cold. But now, what
Yeah.
about the heat? Because it gets pretty humid in South Korea, man.
Oh yeah, the summers are disgusting. Like the I, I'm not trying to be funny. Like when I finished my summer cycle of training, like
Yeah.
I had darker skin than you, man. Like I was.
Hey, we're gonna change your name from Minjoon to Charles.
Born and raised in
Charles,
West Baltimore. Yeah.
everybody, this is an unarmored talk, by the way. Discussions without army. So you know the deal. Yeah, I'm gonna change your name to Charles. Hell, we Mario. I mean, I'm African American. Mario Kim, and you're gonna change your name to Mario Kim from April to September.
All right. Sounds great. Yeah. Mario Kim. But yeah, the summers, I mean, I went through boot camp and my recon training school, my reconnaissance school, both in the summer. So they were kind of brutal, but well, you see, this is my motto. The winter, you
Mhm,
have to worry about the cold, but in the summer,
mm,
you got to worry about the heat and the mosquitoes, right? It's the
mm.
heat and the mosquitoes and the flies. So I honestly think that the summer, I personally think that summer training is easy because you've got guys collapse from dehydration. But it was a very honestly, it was a very good productive time. I think winter and summer. But yeah, neither are. They're like the worst seasons to fight. They're the worst seasons to do stuff in.
That is very true, my friend. And you know, as you mentioned earlier in this wonderful show, and I mean not wonderful that of On Armor Talk podcast, but having wonderful guests like you on the show, you mentioned how it was a YouTube channel and there was videos that connected a guy from North Carolina who did 8 million years in the United States Marine Corps. If you guys get on my TikTok, you'll see I'm like the most interesting sergeant major alive. That's the brand on TikTok. That's the comedy. But that YouTube channel, this my YouTube channel, connects this guy to a wonderful guy in South Korea, and didn't even know you was in challenging moments during that time. It's just amazing. If you could do your reconnaissance training all over again, what would you do different if you had a chance to go back and do it all over again?
Oh, what would I do different is I I would try to get less caught up in the politics, to be
Hmm.
quite honest. I think as a sergeant major, you know this better than myself, but when you get to a certain rank or you have a certain number of years in service, it stops being a military thing and it starts being a political thing
Hmm.
almost. You have to play the politics game, and very honestly, I was disappointed by the polity. Have you watched the TV show The Wire?
Yes.
Yeah, it's honestly like being in the Marines was like being in The Wire, but it's all Koreans. Yeah, that's honestly what it was like. And there's a
Wow.
lot of politics. There is backstabbing. There is bad mouthing, but
Hmm.
in, and when you're 21, 22, you're very sensitive to that kind of stuff, right? Now I've grown a much thicker skin, but back then I was quite sensitive to that kind of stuff. So I honestly would have focused less on the small stuff, the people
Yeah.
around me who make noise, and I really would have focused more on myself, becoming a better, fitter, quicker Marine, right? Instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
I was that I wish I could say when I was an E4, I wish I could say I was like super buff, super ripped, super motivated. I was not that. I was that
Mm.
dude sitting in his barracks room eating Cocoa Puffs and watching SpongeBob SquarePants. And I wish looking back that I hadn't done that. I really do. I
Right.
wish I'd gone to the gym and been a nicer sergeant instead of sitting in my barracks eating Cocoa Puffs watching SpongeBob.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that self-reflection moment. And you know, and it is a balance as you get promoted and you have to deal with policy and admin and things of that nature. But you know, it's the consistency of that is
Mhm.
leading humans. And that's the beauty of when you genuinely care
Yeah,
is you can still lead, mentor, and lead humans and prepare them in case they have to deploy. And I love how you mentioned how if you could go back and do things differently, it would have been to become a healthier, more physically fit Marine
yeah,
and to remove
absolutely.
yeah, to remove some of those things out of your out of your discipline or lack thereof. Before I let you go, because man, I will have fun with you all day, hosting you on the show. What is one of your most memorable moments? I'm gonna share you mine. I'm gonna share it with you mine. But what is one of your most memorable moments with the United States Marines doing joint operations?
Well, the most memorable moment that I can share on a podcast that I had
keep it
with the
keep it
United,
PG.
yeah, with United States Marines was, I feel like everybody joined for exactly the same reason. So, for example, I talked to there was a Korean recon Marine that I knew. He was in another company. And
Yeah.
honestly, I was quite curious. I asked people these things. I asked, why did you join and why did you become a recon Marine? Well, basically, why did you volunteer for extra punishment, right, when you didn't
Pretty
have
much.
to? Yeah. And he didn't say I, right? He said, this Korean guy, he said, oh, my grandfather, he was in the Korean War, and I think he lost his fingers and toes to frostbite. So his
Mm,
grandfather was a Korean War veteran, and then he said something about going on to protect his country. And I talked to an American recon Marine, and I asked him later on. This was like a year later. A year later, I asked an American recon Marine. I said, "Well, why did you join? Why did you become a recon Marine?" And he also didn't start off by saying "I." He
mm-hmm.
said, "My grandfather was a recon Marine in Vietnam," and he was like, "My father was in Desert Storm, and now I'm here."
Mm,
So I think that a lot of the recon Marines that I met in the U.S. or in Korea, it was not about them. Like it's not
mm-hmm.
about me or I. It's about legacy, country, something bigger than themselves. I think that was really memorable for me because every time I met a stand-up recon Marine and I asked them, why are you doing this? They never said, I joined because of this. It always was like my father, my grandfather, my uncle. Right? So that was really memorable.
Man, powerful. Boy, just listening to you, it brought chills to me because that is in line with my most memorable experience in South Korea. And
Really? Okay.
specifically working with Rock Marines, I felt like we had known each other for years, and I didn't feel like we were from America as American Marines. These were Rock Marines. I felt like we were all Marines. And the one thing I'll never forget is although we had, some challenges because we spoke English, we spoke Korean, and sometimes we had to have a translator. We all were there for the same purpose, and that is if called to protect legacy of family, friends, and nation. We
Mhm.
all were joined in suffering in December and January, but we all didn't seek our own emotions and our own how do we feel. We're hungry. The MREs are wonderful. It was all about let's continue to work together for the greater good of other people and not ourselves, dude. And so that is so powerful. And to hear you say that, man, it almost made me want to do a push up, just one after the show, just one push up.
All right, sounds good.
Well, as I get ready to let you go, my friend, is there any piece of advice that you would love to leave the listeners and viewers?
Uh, I would I would always recommend our viewers and listeners to focus on your goal, really. One thing I learned studying for the bar, passing the bar, interning, becoming a paralegal, becoming an attorney, is that no matter what you do, there will be people who badmouth you, right? And there
Hmm.
will be people who worship you, but you should not listen to either. Really, you have to listen to yourself, listen to rely on a higher power, but really focus on your goal.
Hmm.
And try to please don't get distracted by the small stuff. And I think that's the one thing that has helped me become that has led me to where I am right now. So if you want to be let's say you're a Marine, right? Let's say you're a Marine and you want to be sergeant major, right? You want to become an NCO, you want to become sergeant major, then you can't really be peeved off. You can't really get angry about every small little thing. What you should
Mm-hmm.
be focusing on is every small little thing about yourself, right? Is my uniform in order? Is my haircut in order, right? Is my PFT score in order? Instead of focusing too much on other people around you, right? Why is he a dirtbag? Why does he shave like? Why does he not shave? Right? That kind of stuff. So I would say focus on yourself first and foremost, instead of getting angry or critical of other people. That's what I would say.
Everybody, you heard it from Minjoon Kim. What amazing tips, insights from this wonderful episode. Minjoon, this has been wonderful. And you guys heard it. I'm not even going to repeat some of the tips. Self awareness, focus on yourself. Make sure you know who you are, and more from Republic of Korea Marine with that reconnaissance tab, all the way to an attorney. Thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you for the time and effort, Sergeant Major. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, everyone, you guys know the deal. Until the next episode, I will continue to pray for you, the listener and viewers, your family, friends, and all living beings around you. Take care.